Research indicates that witch trials weren't usually about seizing wealth. They were actually a response to poverty. During the Little Ice Age in Europe, dropping temperatures led to crop failures and economic downturns. The findings: high active trial periods often coincided with lower than average temperatures and food shortages. The targets: the victims were disproportionately the marginalized poor, specifically elderly women and widows, who had become a financial burden on their neighbors. One of the strongest arguments against the land grab theory is that witch trials were expensive legal proceedings. Resource drain: local elites had to commit significant financial resources to conduct trials, pay guards, and carry out executions. Lack of assets: historical evidence from regions like Scotland shows that most suspects had very little valuable property to begin with. If the goal was profit, the return on investment for a trial was almost always negative. Research into English village records suggests a social psychological cause rather than a financial one. The conflict: many accusations started when a wealthier villager refused to give alms charity to a poorer woman. The guilt flip: the wealthy neighbor would feel guilty for refusing help. If something unexplained happened later, like a cow dying, they used a witchcraft accusation as a way to turn their own guilt into a social obligation to punish the person they had rejected. While land wasn't the main driver, gender roles were. Women were often overrepresented because they held roles like midwifery and folk medicine that dealt with life and death but weren't official or regulated by the church or state. When a child died or a remedy failed, these women were statistically more likely to be blamed because they were the ones present. Although land disputes certainly influenced notable cases such as Salem, the notion that they were the main cause is in fact a historical fallacy. Throughout history, most so-called witches were among the poorest in society, typically widows and elderly women reliant on the charity of their villagers. They lacked land to be taken from them. Instead, they were frequently viewed as a financial burden to the community rather than a benefit. Bringing someone to trial came with a hefty price tag. The costs of judges, witch-finders, and executioners meant that the state frequently incurred losses unless the accused happened to be particularly affluent. The genuine danger frequently stemmed from medical and social issues. As we discussed, numerous individuals served as community healers. When a patient passed away or a husband was poisoned, it was fear, not avarice, that primarily instigated the response. If it were merely a matter of territory, they wouldn't have focused on the men in Iceland or the impoverished in the Holy Roman Empire. It was a perfect storm of religious hysteria, unsuccessful harvests, blame shifting, and an anxiety over folk remedies that eluded their grasp. This is the Paradox Project,